Microsoft revealed their brand new Xbox last night.
No, really? What did they name it?
You don't want to know.
Hot take!
Xbox.
The Game Awards are over, and everything was great at the Game Awards. No problems. No
Nope.
one was wondering about anything that happened.
No. What was really cool, Jeff Keighley got on stage and was talking about a whole bunch of reveals we were going to see, a whole bunch of game things, and then he got on and went, but sometimes one thing doesn't leak. And we were like, ooh,
And then,
a game.
his lip curled up.
Yeah.
we
we
were like,
so
what
excited.
could you be alluding to, Mr. Keighley?
So-
and then they ran the trailer.
And the trailer had a bunch of images from a bunch of things. We thought maybe it was Forza, maybe it was this. Then we saw Master Chief and we're like, is this the new Halo game? And then we realized, oh no, this is the next system. This is going to be the thing that actually goes beyond the Xbox One. Folks, this is the Xbox.
Lockhart!
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No.
It's the
Xbox Series X. This is the next system, folks.
The Series X.
Yes.
What a name. The Series X. The Series X. Finally, a name that you cannot possibly make fun of.
I can't, I swear, this has got to stop with them. Look, we've been around with Xbox systems. The first Xbox had a name that made sense because it was a box that played DirectX-like games.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Xbox 360... 360 is a name bigger than 3. That's why PlayStation 3 existed. It was a good idea to do that.
They were talking about, it's about the space 360 degrees around the console. Like, what?
Stupid. That's
dumb.
not why they did that.
That's
Okay.
dumb.
There was a PlayStation 3. They had to make a number bigger than 3, so they did 360. Simple as that. I don't care what any other reason is. Then when they made their next system, it was Xbox One. Do not understand that. When the PlayStation 4 exists, why would you call your system the One? Apparently it was because it was all in one, had everything in one. That doesn't make sense. The system didn't work. Then they did Xbox One S, which was a slim model, made sense. Then there was Xbox One X. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then we got the SAD.
Yeah,
the all-digital
SAD.
version.
And now we are here at the Xbox Series X.
Ooh.
Folks,
It's a long road.
there's going to be a lot of positivity in this video, but let me be direct. The name is not a good name. It doesn't make sense. Series X doesn't work when you have another system on the market that ends with X already and has Xbox at the beginning. Modern consumers will get so confused going to the market and seeing a whole bunch of Xboxes of a bunch of different shapes and sizes with no one of them saying 1, 2, or 3.
Which one did Charlie want for Christmas? The S? The SAD?
Yeah.
The X?
Right?
It was the X.
It was the
It had an
X.
X at the end.
That's what he
This
wants.
is the one.
This is it. Buys it, brings it home, and the kid cries that morning on Christmas. Look, I don't want to have a huge debate about this. You all know that they've never been great at naming names. It doesn't matter. This is the system they're going with. They're not going to change the name. I don't even know what series makes it an series and a letter. I mean, what does that mean?
I think it's cool. All of these stuff we talked about being true.
Yes.
All that aside, I think Series X is cool and it points to more of a premium sort of experience.
Sure.
Oh, it sounds like a car. It's the model blah blah blah. It's the series blah blah blah. You know, it sounds sleek and expensive. And the Series X, well, the console itself, if you want to start talking about the form factor, it doesn't necessarily look like the most sleek and grabbing your eyes sort of physical device, right?
It looks kind of like a PC tower.
They really dialed it back. In fact, what does this look like to you?
Well, this looks like our modem that we have in our office, which looks exactly like this.
We have the Series X. We've had it all along.
Hold on, we have the white.
It was in our hearts all along. Oh boy,
it's a hilarious looking thing, I know. But if you go back to the system and you really look at it, it is a sleek looking box. It stands upright. It can lay down on its side,
horizontal.
Yeah, and I think I like the way it looks. I honestly do. There's a whole bunch of reasons why apparently they went with this design. One of them is for cooling reasons because there is a lot of horsepower in that box, folks. This is not a cheap system.
And that is exactly where they should be focusing all of their time and power and thought and everything. It should be in the power of this device. What this device screams to me is we don't care about the flash necessarily. The flash is in the games. You want something that looks beautiful, something that's really going to wow you. It's what this thing plays.
Yes.
They dial back. It's a stretched box. It is a monolith, right?
Yep.
And that design philosophy is even brought over to the controller as well, because even though it does look very similar to the Xbox One controller, it's dialed back.
That's right.
Right?
Now see, what's cool about this controller is what we're to understand is they've redesigned it somewhat to be easier to fit in most people's hands. The most notable changes we can see is that it has a Shield-style D-pad, which is apparently a hybrid of the Shield and a normal D-pad.
It's kind of like the Elite.
Yes.
The Elite had something similar, but this is a touch different. You can see the D-pad's a little bit raised.
Yeah. So I'm curious to actually get my hands on that, but Microsoft has actually been very good with controller designs lately, so I would believe that this is a very good design. In the direct center, you can see a brand new share button, but what's neat about that is that it doesn't really affect the games all that much. So all your original Xbox One devices that work with the Xbox One, all the accessories apparently will work on the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
That means if you have a whole bunch of controllers, you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of new ones. And if you get this system and you have that controller, that new one right there, you can play it on your original Xbox One and on your PC. Folks, that's the way accessories should be done.
Yeah, that sounds like they're thinking once again about backwards compatibility and forwards compatibility, and that's the messaging we're getting out of both consoles. So I don't know who's listening to who here, but yeah, embracing the legacy of consoles has never been more important, I guess, in their eyes and in the consumer's eyes, the game player's eyes as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there are quick to judge when they see a system like that, the way it's designed. It doesn't look like other systems, but the thing is, it doesn't look crazy. It just looks different. There's a difference. Crazy designs are like what we're looking at with the PlayStation 5 dev kits, which are just giant V's and stuff like that. And they look
cooling and stacking.
I get it.
We've been over this.
But this is for cooling as well, and it does the same thing. And you could stack that sideways, right? See?
Well, sideways, it may not be as effective. We cannot confirm. but
the thing is, the design looks decent enough, all right?
Yeah,
it's really about, but it's about the power. So what is the power in this thing? Well, we got a couple of rumored specs that flew around here. What we are to understand is that a lot of this is just way more powerful than what the Xbox One X currently sits at. We're talking about 12 teraflops rumored, and if 12 teraflops are accurate, you may not know what teraflops means. All you need to know is this: Stadia, which is the thing that Google's made.
Oh, the thing that's going to be better than every other console on the market.
Better than every other console on the market.
Oh, sure.
In a center somewhere with a blade so expensive you can't buy it is 10 teraflops. Think about that. Microsoft has designed a console that surpasses what Google has done and spent a lot of money trying to get done.
They've also talked about, if we're talking about power, they've been speaking about an SSD as well.
That's right,
That keeps coming up, right? A solid-state drive that allows, well, I think basically they've been talking about killing load times.
That's right.
On both sides, the PlayStation folks and the Microsoft folks. So we have another console that's going to be trying to like completely destroy those load times, which is so important. It'll be wonderful to see that taken away.
And you know, a lot of people out there like to compare against PCs right now that have the same kind of thing, SSDs, and how they kill load times. Now, while they do get heavily reduced load times, PCs naturally have to be made to accumulate or to work with a variety of hardware. So you can't actually make games that way without alienating another group of people that are still using traditional HDDs, which are, you know, non-solid state drives. What's important about this is that going forward, every Xbox is going to have these similar specs, meaning that they can design games to utilize that hardware directly, which is something that PC PC developers really can't do. Another thing that's really cool about this, folks, is that they said in some of the press stuff that we've been seeing is that apparently you're going to be able to have multiple lock save states of games running coherently or consistently at the same time. You know how when you put your Xbox to sleep, your PlayStation to sleep right now, the newer systems, and you go back and the game just picks up exactly where you left off, no loading, no nothing? Apparently with this system, they're going to be able to do that with multiple instances of games.
Ooh, that's really exciting. That's almost like we were talking about Stadia. It's almost like that Stadia experience, but without the, you know, in the cloud gameplay, right? That seamlessness of jumping in and out of games, which is exciting. And games is something that we have to talk about. They're very important because we did see that little teaser trailer. We don't know if that's in-game footage, probably not, of Forza, then it went to FIFA, and then it went to Halo. But then afterwards, we got a teaser trailer for an upcoming title. And and it's
That's
a
right.
title that I don't think anyone was expecting.
No. We thought that this company was working on a completely different game.
Well, we know they are.
They are.
Right?
That's true,
This
yes.
is Ninja Theory. They're working on Bleeding Edge right now, and maybe you might remember that from some conversations that Shane and I have had, because it's a hero shooter in a world where we have too many hero shooters, and it might be great.
Yeah.
But we were a little bit worried because we see that studio.
That's right.
They worked on Hellblade. They make... They're known for story.
That's right.
They're known for story, not so much for like a competitive, hero shooter.
Not that we don't think they should try,
You should always try.
but they're known for one thing, and that one thing right now is amazing first-person or single-player experiences. Yes. And then we saw this.
Oh yeah, this was breathtaking and a little bit disturbing, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So they announced Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga.
Yes.
I gotta get this right. Yeah. Not expecting this at all.
No.
And oh my gosh. Okay, it's in-game. It's using the in-game engine.
Yeah, that's
right? We're seeing in-game graphics, but I always want to, don't expect it to look like this in the final version. A lot of people are like, this is it. This is what the next generation of Xbox is going to look like. Maybe. But we've been burnt so many times in the past,
That's right? Yes. Specifically by companies showing off brand new hardware on stage. Look, folks, what you're seeing here, I have no doubt, is in-engine. We don't know. They didn't say real time. They didn't say any... here's the thing. I believe we're going to see something very close to this. I think from what we've heard of the specs, that the console is capable of performing these exact kind of graphics. We're seeing beautiful work done with lighting effects. We're seeing amazing work done with reflections, wonderfully high-resolution textures, fantastic animations. Remember, most of this that you're seeing right now is not the hardware that's making these things look so good. It's the developer's ability to really capture those things and translate it to a game engine that looks so cool.
Yeah, it's not crazy to think that a game could come out that has this sort of look to it, or by the end of the generation.
Yeah.
As well, this is Ninja Theory, right? Ninja Theory made, of course, the original Hellblade, and the original Hellblade was known for its motion capture, its facial capture animations being really great. The original Hellblade already looked really, really great. So to see that studio doing something that looks like close to almost like watching a film or something,
I gotta be honest,
it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Look,
that's exciting.
I think the original game still looks good, but what I'm seeing here, it's like, how can you make that look better? This is how you do it. It looked like film. It looked like real actors were on camera. And for a minute there, I was like, okay, I've never seen any showing of a game before in the history of me seeing these revelations from any kind of stream, whatever. I've never seen anything look that good. Yeah. It's really crazy to think that that's what the game's going to look like. But remember, this isn't in-game. We're seeing cutscenes, and the cutscenes are tailored in a very specific way. We're not even seeing if there's any kind of buffering or loading or anything like that. We are literally just seeing it as is presented, cut for your like trailer.
I'm waiting for them to be like, okay, here is a slice of the game, and we're going to spin the camera around, look at all the assets, and then we're like, okay, I can kind of connect with it a little bit more as a game on a console. One thing that this game's telling me, though, that I think is very important, because we've had gripes with what we've seen from the studios from Microsoft so far. The branch, they scooped up 15 studios, the Microsoft Game Studios. So we were a little bit worried, because we're seeing some projects like we had already mentioned Bleeding Edge.
That's right.
And Grounded from Obsidian and stuff. And we're like, oh, these companies, are they only working on these titles? And these are supposed to be coming out on this generation of consoles.
Yep.
No, this is proof that these smaller developers, I mean, they're a little bit bigger now, but they can be spinning multiple plates at the same time. We can get a hero shooter over here while they're working on what is most likely a very cool, cinematic, story-driven experience.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Do you see what's going on here, folks? Remember how we talked about it doesn't matter how much a company has, how much money they've got. You can invest all the money you want, but it doesn't mean you're going to get a good product. But when you get the right companies and you give them the funding, they know how to use that money properly. And here we go. This is the beginning of the race for graphics and fidelity. What we're seeing here was crazy. But of course, on the same night, we saw something else.
Oh no.
We saw a trailer for a PlayStation 5 game. This is the first time we've seen any in-engine footage from a PlayStation 5 release.
Yes.
And wow, is the difference tangible.
I know. Okay, here's the thing we have to consider, okay? Developers have engines and developers have skills, and some developers are able to incorporate certain things into their games in a certain way, an artistic style. The fidelity of cinematic experience that Hellblade 2 had was breathtaking. This is Godfall from Gearbox. I don't know that this is pushing the power of a PS5 console, and I would like to hope that it isn't, because when this trailer dropped and we were talking about it, we're like, okay, it's another PS4 game.
Yeah.
This does not look like a PS5 game at all. I mean, the reflections, there's a lot of sort of like interesting sort of light in little art, what were those little spectral things going on?
I could imagine seeing this running on a PlayStation 4 Pro and it be calling Devil May Cry. Like, it looks so close to what Devil May Cry 5 looks like so far in my mind in terms of what their cutscenes are capable of, that this didn't jump out to me. Now, a couple of things. I analyzed every single frame of the Godfall trailer because this is the first time we see PlayStation 5 apparently running anything. So what I can tell you is that there is some really expensive processing, expensive features going on here that you do not see in a lot of current games. For instance, we're seeing real-time reflections in the groundwater and stuff like that that you see in the frames. But what I could tell was that although those things are really hard to do, and when I say expensive, I mean not in terms of cost, but in terms of the system actually running that stuff.
The cost of the
power,
hardware itself, sure.
So what we're seeing there is not easy for a modern system to do. The problem, though, is that what we saw with that new Hellblade game was facial animations. Yeah. We saw movement and lighting. In this trailer, what we didn't see was facial animations. The characters were wearing masks. There isn't much detail in the scene. We're seeing one set area very quickly.
You bring up a good point, because we're so used to seeing demos or games that are going to, demo, a game that's showcasing what the next generation is going to be. We're so used to that being like a sports game.
That's right.
With a bunch of, like a racing game or something where the assets are sort of minimalized into a small sort of section. With racing games, it's all about the reflections on the cars and stuff like that. It's all things that like you can take the cost of the hardware, all that power, and push it towards something that's a little bit more contained and simplistic.
Yes.
Right? And that's kind of what Godfall seemed like to me. It was it was showing like a bunch of fancy reflections and things, but when you see, because the human face, like, we recognize the human face and all the intricacies. That's just the way we work. Yes. And they did such a brilliant job of that. Yeah. It's like night and day comparing the two next gen titles that were shown off.
Hellblade 2 looked like someone took a camera out and filmed a trailer. What we saw with Godfall was that could have been running on a PlayStation 4 Pro, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, we saw a difference between two, one, I'm like, why even bother do all that in engine? You could have just filmed actors doing that. That's how close that was. And then the other one is like, look, that's not too bad looking, but it's not showing what we are capable of this new generation from what we're to understand.
I really want to know why they showed that off.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was Gearbox that was like, no, this game's going to come out really soon. It's going to be maybe a launch window title for the PS5. We want to get this out there so people are talking about it. But oh my gosh, if I was the Sony team, I would be like, no, I don't want that to be the first look at our console.
Yeah, it's really strange.
I have higher expectations for that. With all of the talk that's gone on about, with the interviews that Mark Cerny's had and stuff.
Yeah.
This was kind of a sad showcase of that.
I think it was. Like, if we take a look at the very recent trailers we've seen for Death Stranding has wonderful facial animations and like design for the characters where they really stick out. And I'm not saying Death Stranding necessarily looks better than Godfall, but I'm saying the visual for the layman to look at that and see those two differences, they're going to look at Death Stranding, an existing game that has already come out on an older platform, and go, oh, well, that kind of looks better than what Godfall looks like. Gearbox is capable of amazing and great things. We've seen them do a whole bunch of great games in the past, and I know from firsthand experience, having played many of their games, that they're very good at animations when given the chance. It's just this one trailer, I think it came out too early. Yeah. It doesn't demonstrate what the PlayStation 5 is capable of, and I don't think it demonstrates what Gearbox is capable of.
I know. So yeah, it really is. It really does make me sort of scratch my head and wonder, like, did like Mark Cerny himself yourself see this and say like, yes, I want this to be the very first thing that anyone sees for the PlayStation 5?
I guess,
Or maybe Gearbox jumped ahead and was like, whatever, it's our game. We're putting it out there. We're going to get the message out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very questionable thing. But here's the deal, folks. We now have seen an example of the PlayStation 5, an example of the Xbox Series X. We now have a name for the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
We've now seen what the system looks like. We know what the controller looks like. The percentage of wild ideas out there is going lower and lower. Now it's in Sony's ballpark to make their announcement for their system to show what that's going to look like.
These have been interesting sort of like baby steps towards the release of for next holiday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, interviews with Mark Cerny where we don't see anything, but people describe things. And then Microsoft is out there at the Game Awards. No one would expect a console like announcement at the Game Awards. And then they don't say that much about, like, you know, we hear a little bit about the power, but we don't know exactly what this thing can do. We just know what it looks like.
That's
so
right.
now it's the ball's in Sony's court, you know, and after that showing of Godfall, they have to have something. They have to bring something, right? So it'll be interesting to see what that next little step is. Maybe it'll be a huge step, you know? Oh, this is exactly what it is, and show us all the sort of nitty-gritty of what
That's
that
right.
console is.
Right now, I think everyone that's at home that's trying to figure out how all this is going to play out, the best way to think about it is this. Microsoft has put a strong foot forward. Besides the name, I think everything else they pretty much locked down, okay? It's a decent looking box. It's a controller that looks familiar. It's a game and an engine that looks amazing. It's a good visual standpoint to go, look, here's what it's capable of. If they just showed off the box, I think people would have been nervous. But to show what the power is in there, that's what matters. Now, Sony has to basically do something similar. Next, it's going to be titles that you care about. A sequel to Senua's Sacrifice is a big deal because a lot of people like that first game. Now we have to see what Halo looks like. We know we've seen Halo before, but not Halo in a single fixed room. We need to see what the gameplay looks like. We now need to start seeing that. So Microsoft, foot forward, they know what they're going for. Their next step is, here's the gameplay. Here is what the system can do in terms of features. Sony has to show better gameplay than Godfall, the box, and games that you want, plus gameplay. They've got a lot to go for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the ball's in their court for now, but hey, man, I had low expectations from Xbox going into the next gen, and now I'm really excited.
Yes,
and I can't wait to see what these other 15 sort of developers are doing behind the scenes right now, because, hey, multiple studios seem to be spinning multiple plates. We could be seeing a heck of a lot of games coming out of these guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hey, man. My excitement's peaked.
It's you know how I feel about this really? It's that the Xbox Series X may not be the strongest name in the world, but we were worried about multiple variations of consoles. Yep. We were worried about all these weird, crazy features they were talking about. What they showed us was, it's a powerful console, it plays games. By the way, all your Xbox One games work on the Series X. We've heard rumors that all your 360 and all your Xbox games as well. We're not certain on that. I would love to hear that. If they say it's totally backwards compatible, because we saw a disc slot there, which means that you could potentially play all your original games. What we're hearing, though, is that this is the foot forward that they want. This is the next generation. And if you are a fan of the original Xbox One, you're not going to lose anything going forward. In fact, if you own an original Xbox One, have a whole bunch of games, and you're getting this new Series X, you're likely going to get a whole bunch of new features on this from the original Xbox One X enhancements that's going to look even better. So this is the right way for Microsoft to go. Sony's next, and I gotta see what they pull.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys expect from Sony after this very impressive showcase from Xbox? Let us know in the comments below.